good afternoon, good people. This is your host, Calvin Anderson, for the Check In With podcast, season 2. We're pretty much halfway there now. Thank you to all the amazing guests that have been on so far. And today we have this person is what she's doing and what's about to come from her is going to be mind blowing. My guest today is the founder of the Wallnut app by the Relationship Lab. And after 6+ years working in the corporate world, she quit her job to build her startup to help people create healthier and more enriching relationships. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Richa Raval. Richa, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
It is an honor. Richa, for the listeners, I gave like a brief intro into who you are. Tell them a bit more. What would they need to know about you?
Yeah, so my journey into founding Wallnut is quite deeply personal. I grew up in a culture and an environment where very unhealthy relationships were normalized and very un- unhealthy or dysfunctional family dynamics were normalized growing up. So I didn't realize until a lot later when I started going to therapy and started reading a lot of self help books and really becoming more self aware that I realized that I was repeating a lot of old patterns based on my experiences before. So whether it was the relationships I chose, the partners, the friendships, the workplace experiences, I realized I was just experiencing the same things again and again just with different people. So it wasn't until I had that aha moment in therapy that I was thinking about, oh, this could be me. This is something that I need to work on and unlearn in relationships and relearn how to relate better. So I think that's when I decided that this is my mission to help everyone else do the same because we never get taught how to be in relationships. Like, this is something that should be taught in school, right? This is something just like fitness or math. People should be learning early on. How do you self regulate? How do you assert boundaries? How do you communicate in a healthy way? How do you resolve conflict? Unfortunately, we are not taught these things. We just kind of learn this as and when we grow up by seeing our parents who honestly don't have the best model themselves. So they may not be showing up in the healthiest way in their relationship with themselves, with each other, or with you. And so you will just unknowingly be repeating the same patterns and trying to find the same familiar experiences throughout your relationships. So for me, the real transformation in my mental health and well being came after I was able to unlearn all of those old patterns and really learn how to build more secure relationships. It was transformational because all of a sudden, the world felt safer. People felt safer. I could trust people and I was able to feel a lot better. I was able to be my authentic self. And I think that's what just transformed me, my mental health, the way I felt about everything. And that's what I wanted for the world. So, what I did is I just took everything I learned in therapy and through the self help books and everything, put it in an app through bite-sized modules so that people can learn all of these things in easy and interactive ways, and be able to like apply that in their own lives and in their relationships. And a part of it is also about connecting people because the biggest part about healing, and especially healing through relationships, is that it cannot happen in isolation. If I'm learning to communicate in a healthy way, I need the other person to do the same for me. If I know how to take accountability for whatever I'm doing wrong in conflict, I need the other person to take accountability for whatever the I need the other person to take accountability for the part where they are wrong. So for me, I think for me, I think if I'm doing the work, I deserve someone who's willing to do that work to show up as a secure partner for me as well. And it's not just as a partner, but also as a friend, as a companion, but whatever it is, the relationship needs to be a healthy and secure space for me and the other person to thrive and build something meaningful. So yeah, that is where Walnut came from, and the mission behind it.
It's so interesting that you chose to, I guess, call it the Walnut app. And when you think about walnuts in general, like it has an outer shell, and once you get to the middle of it is where the goodness is. So I love that you created something where you've created a relationship app where people can have these sort of not interactions, but there's growth in there. There's this enrichingness that sounds very impactful as you were talking. Um, when is it, if you don't mind me asking, when is it launching, or when is it coming, or is it here already that I don't know about?
So currently it's in testing. We're testing the app. We are getting a lot of good user feedback,
Yeah.
and we're trying to incorporate it in every part of the app, whether it's the colors, the logos, how interactive the modules are, how are people actually behaving with the app, or is it actually bringing about a behavioral change in their interactions? We're just trying to gauge all of that. So we're hoping to start open testing, so have it available for testing to a wider audience very soon in the next 2 weeks or so, and then hopefully launch in the summer.
Mm.
And also, I'm glad you mentioned the idea of the walnut. That's actually how I named it. So the idea was that it's a really good metaphor for a healthy relationship because it's the healthiest nut out there. Basically, it's two halves coming together in a secure shell. That's the idea of it. And also because it's healthy relationship skills in a nutshell, because we're teaching in like bite sized formats. So it kind of works both ways.
How do you feel being a, I guess, app developer slash app creator? How do you feel about that?
I never thought I would ever be doing this. I think so. My background is actually in finance, and that's where I worked for the last 6+ years in companies like Amazon. So my mind has always been very analytical and numbers oriented. But my other passion was always in psychology and self growth and how to just become a better person. Um, and so I think as and when I started following this calling of mine, I just started taking it one step at a time. So right now, I don't do much of the development myself, but I'm able to hire people. I learn a lot of the development stuff myself, a little bit, just to be able to have these conversations and to be able to know what a good developer is versus someone who's not up to the task, or just to be able to have a conversation and create a plan of what the tech roadmap needs to look like. So I'm more of a like the strategy person, and the person who's deciding, okay, what the marketing plan's going to look like and what the development plan's going to look like, what are the features we add, what are the legal stuff I need to put together. So it's really just a one-man show trying to put all of this together versus just myself developing the app. But it's been an amazing journey. I think I've learned so much about myself that I would have never learned in a corporate job working in finance. Like that was just one side of my brain working towards numbers. And now I feel like all my brain cells are on fire because I'm working so many angles. And it's very fulfilling because I know that I'm making a huge impact. It's something that can change a lot of things for many generations to come. Because when people do the self work, the inner work, and heal, they're going to choose better partners. They're going to get into better, healthier relationships. They will create better home environments for their future children. And those children will grow up more well adjusted as adults. So, this impact, knowing that every day that I'm working on this app, I know that that's my North Star. And that is the most meaningful part of it all.
It sounds very meaningful and powerful. Um, You mentioned psychology. Why specifically that? Like, what about psychology resonates with you?
Well, I think that like, when you go into therapy, I think one of the main questions that a therapist would ask is, tell me about your childhood. It's because there's so many things that happen when you're young. You absorb everything without even knowing, whether it is the energy around the home environment, how people are interacting, the tension, the chaos. Your body as a child is so receptive to it all that it almost trains your nervous system to be a certain way. And that's also when your brain is developing. So when your brain is developing, you're building these connections of if I do this, it means this. If I do that, it means that. That's when your core beliefs are being formed. And so people don't realize, well, until they've done a lot of that self work, where their current thinking patterns and where their default reactions and triggers are coming from. So I think that psychology is really important to get into when you start doing any of the self work, is because the first step to healing is self awareness and really being able to integrate that, where your thoughts are coming from, where your default feelings are coming from, where your triggers are coming from. And once you're self-aware, then you can start taking the steps to, what can I change about this? How can I reframe this? What is the action I would like to take instead? And then slowly start changing and unlearning the old behaviors. So I think psychology and really understanding how you work, how you were built, is key to just healing and self awareness and being on the journey to doing the work.
Talk more on. I love how you said about the healing comes from having self awareness. Speak more on that for me, Richa, in terms of self awareness. What is self awareness and how does one begin to gain such awareness, would you say?
Yeah, I think self awareness comes from being able to understand where your thoughts, feelings, triggers are coming from, and also being able to take accountability. So, for example, for me, a lot of my journey came from understanding why I was a certain way. So, I'll give you an example. Because I grew up around so much relational trauma, I built these core beliefs that people cannot be trusted, that people are not going to show up for me, that people will always betray me. Now, these are core beliefs that I formed because of many situations that happened in my childhood. Now, growing up in my adult relationships, I started choosing unavailable partners. I started inviting bullies into my life, in my workplace. I started getting into relationships with friends that were not very wholesome. And so that was just a pattern I was recreating just in different relationships. So when I talk about becoming self-aware, it's trying to understand, okay, if I am if I am choosing experiences that confirm my beliefs that people cannot be trusted, that people can be bad to me, that people are unsafe, I'm the common denominator here. What am I doing that is making this continue in all of my relationships?
Yeah.
So then it's about realizing, okay, something needs to change here. What am I doing wrong? Just being able to understand, okay, I've isolated myself from people. I'm becoming lonelier and more disconnected because of my own core beliefs. How do I fix that? So then that's just the self awareness bit. That's just realizing I have some control here. I'm not the victim, but I can take control over why I built these beliefs and how I can change them. And then you start going about, okay, that's probably because I'm not asserting boundaries well. That's why I'm allowing bullies into my life, which make me believe people are not safe.
Yeah.
I'm probably not communicating my needs well, which is why I believe people are not able to show up for me. I'm probably choosing unavailable partners because that's familiar to me. But guess what? I deserve someone who's emotionally available and can be there for me. So then you can rework all of these core beliefs to think, okay, I deserve better. I can draw boundaries and people will still be there. And then slowly, slowly, you choose safer relationships. You build more secure relationships, and then it just changes everything around you because you've started reworking the threads of what has built your life so far. That was one thing I was going to mention as well, that I think my journey into self awareness, like my aha moment that got me into it, was reading the book Attached by Adam Levine, which I think for the first time gave me an insight about like how an anxiously attached person shows up in a relationship, or how an avoidantly attached person shows up versus a securely attached person. That just gave me this perspective that these are patterns, that I'm not the only one experiencing this, and I'm not the only one reacting in relationships like this and thinking like this. It's a very common pattern.
Yeah.
And it's coming from very common experiences in childhood. And then I think it was that moment that made me realize, okay, like this is something that I need to be able to fix and rewire in my brain to be able to become a more secure person. Um, but yeah, I think self-awareness can really transform relationships.
Yeah.
Because when I got on this journey into just really trying to understand myself, I ended up taking a lot more accountability in my life, whether it was in friendships or even with my partner, where I could, at moments in conflict or intense situations, I can also look inwards and be like, oh, wow, I'm not sure why I behave this way. I'm sorry. And I think if someone's not self aware, they won't be able to say that. If they are reacting out of like a heated moment or getting triggered, if they don't know where that trigger is coming from, they can just lash out at you like you are the problem. But the trigger is coming from their own past as well. And the trigger is really going to be telling them more about themselves than probably about you. So you deserve a partner, you deserve people around you that are able to show that self-awareness and accountability just like you are.
That's powerful, Richa. Relationships, whether it be platonic or a group relationship or a romantic one, what would you say the key, I guess, fundamentals that are necessary for a relationship to thrive and grow, as you mentioned?
I think the key to having a thriving relationship is really a mutual commitment
Yeah.
to growing together.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people might say different things. They might say compatibility. They might say having similar star signs or things like that.
Yeah.
But in the end, if you don't know how to grow together, if you don't know what are the triggers of the other person and how can I meet this other person in a place where I can make them feel safe, or if you don't know how to resolve conflict like an adult, if you don't know how to communicate your needs in a healthy way, and also just understand that you have this responsibility to also meet the other person's needs, then doesn't matter if you like the same kind of music or if you both like dogs and cats. These are the things that are going to stop you from having a beautiful, healthy, and secure relationship. So the the commitment to growth is the first thing.
Yeah.
And then I would say healthy communication. Being able to communicate your needs, communicate your boundaries in a way that is not harmful to the other person, but in a way that's most true to yourself, is something that I've realized is very hard for people these days, especially if you see around in the dating world. A lot of people believe if this person wanted to, they would.
Yeah.
They believe this person should just know what I want. But a lot of times people don't realize that people are not mind readers. If you need something, you need to be able to voice that you need that, so that the other person even has the opportunity to begin to meet you halfway there.
Yeah.
So I think that people take communication for granted. They believe that if the person is the one, they should just know. But no, if you want a chance for this person to be the one, you have to learn to communicate exactly what you want, exactly what your boundaries are, exactly what you're thinking about the relationship, to be able to have a more secure relationship. Yeah, and then I would say the third thing is definitely mutual accountability.
Mm.
um I think, like I mentioned before as well, if if we have a conflict, right, and if I know that 50 or 60% of it is my fault, and I've thought about it, I communicated to you, I just need some space to think about it, I think about it, I come back to you, and I'm able to take accountability for it, and I'm able to say, I'm sorry, I won't do this next time, in fact, I'll do this to make things better. If the other person on the other side is not self-aware enough, they might just be like, oh yeah, I'm glad you said that, it is completely your fault, I'm glad you took accountability, and can just keep blaming you. Versus, you deserve someone who's able to be on the other side and also think about their part that they played in this, to say, oh yeah, I'm also sorry that I played a part in this, and be able to do that. So it's really so simple, but there are small interactions like this that show that you both are a team, and you're not going to just find opportunities to throw the other person under the bus,
Yeah.
but you're showing that you're not only self-aware, but also you're willing to take the accountability to grow together. And I think these three things, the the mutual commitment to growth, always communicating in a healthy way, as well as taking accountability, especially when resolving conflict. I think these three things are key to making a relationship a safe place for it to thrive.
I love your passion and your insight for relationships. How did you know? And obviously, you mentioned about your own personal things. How did you know this was the pathway you wanted to go down? And yeah, what was it that I guess solidified? Okay, this is the niche I want to be good at.
I think so. Once I got initiated into reading all of these books, thanks to Attached, I kind of went down this path of course, therapy, and then reading a lot of books on psychology, on self help, on neuroscience, to just really understand myself. And when I started realizing these things about myself and healing, and started seeing the difference in my own life, it felt amazing. But then when I would meet people, when I would meet my friends, or just honestly just observe people, I just realized how everyone is experiencing the same thing. They're just not aware. If you open dating apps right now, it's filled with such toxic behaviors. People are not honest about their intentions. People don't know what they want. People don't know what kind of a relationship they want, whether it's casual or they want something serious. Most of the people are afraid to connect. They're afraid to be authentic and show their authentic selves. They're afraid to build a deeper connection. As soon as people get close, they want to disappear and ghost them because they're not ready for something that's emotionally meaningful. There's just so much toxicity that has been normalized over time, that I think there just needs to be something better. There needs to be something that is for wholesome relationships, even friendships, right? Friendships are so important, but I've realized that people don't realize the importance of conflict resolution and making the relationship stronger through it. I know so many really good friendships just breaking apart because they had one tiny conflict, or maybe just some person annoyed the other person, did not communicate why, and then they just stopped talking to each other. Relationships that are like years long, that have been strong through ups and downs, just disappear in a just because a moment's inconvenience or something that they didn't want to communicate to the other person.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much stronger that relationship could have been if they just said, "Hey, I didn't like that you said this," or "I felt this way when you said this. Where did that come from?" And then the other person can talk about it, and then you could have a stronger relationship. But relationships have just become so fragile just because people are afraid to go there. They're afraid to be uncomfortable in the vulnerability that they have to show to make the relationship stronger. And so when I see this, it hurts me because I've been through that. But after learning that all of that was wrong and all of that was separating me from people and all of that was just keeping me lonely and in this space of anxiety and repeating bad patterns, I want to get people out of it. I want to show them the other side where authenticity and vulnerability and connection is beautiful and it's safe and it can be amazing. I want to show that to people. And that's when I think I got on this mission. And then it was about, how do I make this happen? This is my goal. I want people to have healthier relationships. Let's start with them finding a good partner and finding friends that are on the same journey. But I want to take it on the full life's journey. So let's start with choosing a partner, but we want to help them lay a strong foundation. I want to help them build that relationship throughout life. I want to help them through supporting it they have when they start families, when they start learning how to relate to their young children. I want to help them along the entire life stages of the relationship.
Speak more on, and I think this is such a key thing you said, conflict resolution. When you mentioned about two people having an argument and not having a conversation about it and then just parting ways, so to speak. Why do people do that, Richa? Why do they just not go and say, hey, you know what you said there really, really hurt? And I'm wondering, what did I do or what did I not do to elicit such response? And I want us to talk about it. Why do many people, or the few, um, not go about it that way and kind of just walk away from the friendship, so to speak?
I think it comes down to, again, lack of self awareness. Also, the fear of being vulnerable to be able to say that this hurt me. There's a fear that this other person might retaliate, especially if they've had a background where they've gone through trauma. But also, I think people's level of tolerance has just reduced over time. I think the bad side of this woke culture is that people are flipping the narrative to understanding what's going on with myself to just thinking, you're the problem. You made me uncomfortable, you're the problem. The people are not really thinking about, okay, what about this made me uncomfortable? Just the other person's actions alone can be can mean different things to different people. But why is it triggering you? So people need to do that work to understand, okay, this triggers me because of this experience in the past, and this is about me, not the other person. But if this means that I don't want this other person to say something like that or behave a certain way, then that is for me to assert a boundary. And that's the thing that people are not able to do. They're not thinking about it deeply to understand, why did this upset me and how can I have a conversation such that this relationship can continue even after this little period of disconnection or miscommunication. So, and also, I think because people have not been modeled what conflict resolution, how to resolve conflict. So, growing up, I saw my parents have an argument, and then I saw them just stonewalling each other for a few days, and then they'll just magically start talking to each other. There was no real accountability. There was no resolution. There was no, how do we go about not having this fight again and again. So I think this is the story for a lot of people. You've not been modeled what a good apology is. People don't know how to apologize. Like, it's so basic, right? So I think if people have not been modeled that, people are just going to do the same thing again and again. One of the most, I guess, common dynamic is that one person wants to talk it out, is usually the anxious one who needs to resolve it immediately, is probably not very emotionally regulated, so they are very passionate about how they want to fix it, and the other person is too overwhelmed with the conflict and wants to just take some space away and not talk about it. That makes the other person more agitated, and that makes the avoidant person run away more. And that's unfortunately what you see. So, like, it just happens a lot. So, if these two people were to just stop and think, okay, we both need to emotionally regulate a little bit. I can give the other person space, and the other person who's more avoidant can just be able to find it in themselves to say, okay, this person needs connection. I understand her or his triggers because he needs this to be resolved. I understand that I can feel compassionate in this moment and I will need to take my space, but I will come back and resolve it. And I can promise them and reassure that. And then that itself can be beautiful.
Yeah.
Because then both partners are getting what they need. They're being reassured. And in that moment, they can take space, come back, and talk about what they need to talk about. But what happens is in this heated situation, neither wants to give each other what the other person needs. And that's where the biggest disconnection is. It's about how can I get what I need while also giving the other person the reassurance and giving them what they need so that we can come back to a position of connection and resolution.
Being the person to come back and say, hey, this is what I've done. This is my part to play. But how can I now be the person of reassurance and be the person that you need me to be in order for you to thrive and for us to grow? Our relationship's 50-50 or 100-100, Richa?
They're never 50-50. So depending on where you're at
Yeah.
and what the situation is, maybe one day it'll be 80-20. Maybe the other day it'll be 60-40. Like, it will be different at different times. And it's about being able to step up when it's needed. And it's also being able to receive help and support when that's needed as well. So I think it's delicate balance. And I think a lot of that comes with the trust that, okay, when I'm at 20%, I know that my partner will show up 80. Or I know that when I can give 80 when the other person is at 20. Being able to trust that the other person will be able to step up when it's needed is key to whether it's going to be an even split. So I don't believe in 50-50 because there are times when I'm 20, there are times when I'm 80. But I know that I'm going to do what's needed to give the other person what they need when it's needed. And I'm able to receive the support I need when that's what I need as well.
Richa, what are your hopes and aspirations for the application that you're going to be bringing out? What do you want it to do? How do you want it to affect the world of relationships?
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk a little bit about also how I got to focusing on how people choose partners.
Please.
So when I first started looking into this problem, my very first solution was a startup that was targeting children.
Yeah.
Because that's when the early intervention really has a huge impact in the minds of children. But the biggest thing is when we were working with these child psychologists on what is the root of anxiety in children, it was the home environment, their relationship with their parents, and also how the parents relate with each other. So then we thought, okay, what would be great is if these parents were able to have access to couples therapy. But often one or the other partner doesn't want to go to couples therapy. It's usually one person forcing the other, right? And also, by the time they actually go to couples therapy, it's already too late. There are so many problems in their relationships that are hardwired, that resentment, the criticism, the contempt is too much. They're not able to get over it. And the damage has already been done to the children, to the home environment, to everything that they have built. So the best time for the intervention was probably before the parents even met each other, right? So that's when I really feel like people can have the biggest change in behavior, and I feel like that's when the world would have the greatest impact, is when people are able to look inwards and heal and become self-aware so that they start choosing better partners. I think right now, the way the dating world is, people don't realize how much the shallow behaviors the shallow behaviors in dating apps that are perpetuated through the pictures, through the focus on chemistry, the focus on having fun. It's taking away from what actually builds real relationships. If you're focusing on chemistry, unfortunately, if you have been through an unpleasant experience growing up, through neglect or through avoidance or chaos, a lot of times the feeling of chemistry will mimic anxiety. So, what you might think is, I feel so alive in this relationship, it might actually be your body telling you to run away. But if you're not aware of why you're feeling this way, why is this person that is breadcrumbing me making me feel so passionate? Why is this person who disappears and then shows up after a week and then disappears again makes me feel so passionate? It's because you're feeling the ups and downs and the chaos that you felt when you were young.
Yeah.
And now you think this is familiar, so he must be the one.
Mm.
So but if you were to realize that beforehand, you might be better at choosing someone who's more stable, who makes you feel more secure. You might realize that stability and safety and security is something that you would want and might want to create in your relationship instead of chasing chaos and instability for what you might think is passion.
Yeah.
So, what I really want to do with this app is change that whole perspective. Do the work first so you can choose better partners and that you can start building a good foundation in your relationships early on. What I don't want is for people to get into these unhealthy dynamics that dating apps perpetuate, and then like people get into situationships because they're not honest about what they want. They say they want something casual, then they're kind of just seeing someone, it's a situationship, then 5 years later they're they stumble onto the relationship. They've again hardwired the bad patterns in their relationships. That's not going to be great. That's not the story you want to tell your children. That's not going to be a home environment that's not going to be a healthy home environment for your future children. So instead, I want to flip it. You do it first, you find a partner, you build a healthier foundation, and you learn to sustain that throughout your life. So the app, the way it's doing it right now is it helps you, it's like a Duolingo of healthy relationship skills. So it helps you learn different topics, it helps you reflect, helps you practice by helping you apply what you learned to real world scenarios. It gives you journal prompts. It gives you a little interactive um, gives you little interactive formats where you can drag and drop answers, so you can basically apply what you're learning, and then you earn points as you're doing that. So when you earn points, you can then unlock the Walnut Connect side, where you can either find a partner or find friends. And through finding a partner, you in the profile, you are only able to give relevant information to what actually builds a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
No what's your height, what's the color of your eyes. None of that. It's about what does your ideal relationship look like? So, what does your lifestyle look like in your ideal relationship? How do you want to feel? How do you want to communicate? The things that actually matter. Then you answer the question about what makes you a good partner. Because that's important too. Why should someone date you? What do you bring to the table? What are your needs? What are your core values? Your love languages, hobbies, interests, things like that. So they're again things that are most relevant to actually building a relationship. Um, Also, when people earn points and they complete modules, they're able to earn badges as well. So badges that celebrate that they have learned how to communicate in a healthy way, that have learned how to build trust, how to be more consistent in relationships. So if they get a healthy communicator badge, the other people, the other users that chat with the person can endorse their badge. So when these badges are seen by other people and they're able to see their endorsements, they are matching for the right reasons. They're matching because they see that this person can communicate in a healthy way. They're matching because they see that this person is able to build trust, not because this person is attractive, has blue eyes, and is above a 6 foot. The things that honestly are not going to matter when 10 years down the line, when you need reassurance or when you need to feel safe in a relationship that makes you feel good. In conclusion, I want this app to build meaningful relationships for the next generations to come.
Incredible. Is there a date of release or not yet?
We don't have an exact date only because it really depends on how the testing goes and uh, and how long it will take to fix the bugs or release more features. But I will say that open testing is going to go out 7 days from now. So it will be available for people to download the app and check it out.
Incredible. Richa, we definitely need to do a part two.
I agree.
I feel like there's so much more to discuss. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is part one of Richa's podcast. We will have a part two where we'll dive deeper into relationships and everything else that she has to share with us. Richa, before you go, what I do with my guests is I throw some fun questions at them to answer so that the listeners can get to know you better. If you could live anywhere remotely, where would it be and why?
Miami.
Why Miami?
So I lived there for 2 years while I did my undergraduate studies and absolutely loved it. I love being by the beach. I need water near me to thrive. I need warm weather as well. I am a sunshine person. Um, I thrive in warm weather by the water, by palm trees, and good food, which is why I would go back to Miami in a heartbeat.
Do you have a favorite? Well, based upon the answer, do you have a favorite season?
In Miami,
Just in general, is it winter, spring, summer?
summer, absolutely. And not summer in London, because that's fake summer. A real summer.
Fake summer. Wow. Okay. Do you have a favorite quote, Richa?
There's so many, but like it's not coming to me now, so I'm going to say something generic.
Uh,
Guess it's be the change you want to see.
be the change you want to see.
So generic.
It's a good one. It's a good one. What's your favorite color and why?
Blue. I think it stands for like healing, renewal, that kind of vibe. Maybe I'll say teal actually, because that's like a good combination of green and blue, which is again healing, organic, nature, and that's something that I stand for. I love the color teal.
Yeah. If you wasn't in your current profession, what would you be doing?
I think I'd be a therapist
Really?
for sure. I think growing up, I didn't know this was something I could do. And I think also culturally, you're forced to think about becoming a doctor or engineer or lawyer. I chose finance, but I think my calling was always to do something more meaningful. And I think I was always really passionate about understanding the brain, understanding human behavior. That was always my passion. And I think that's what I would have liked to do if I hadn't chosen finance. It would have been a therapist, a psychotherapist.
Last one.
Also, I'm a pseudo psychotherapist for all of my friends and family, anyways. I think it'd be nice to get paid for it.
I love that. Richa, do you have a favorite book or film? Or both?
I think I'm going to be really lame with this answer because I don't tend to read a lot of like fiction. I tend to read a lot of like self-help books literally since I was a kid. So right now one of the books I really like are about uh Break the Habit of Being Yourself
Okay.
by Joe Dispenza.
Yeah.
And I really like it because it has a little bit of everything: psychology, neuroscience, quantum physics, even spirituality. And I think these are the topics that like I love.
Yeah.
Like my brain cells are on fire when it's about any of this. And this book brings everything together. So this is the book that's currently my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Richa, someone's heard you today and they want to reach out and connect to you. What's the best way they can get in touch?
So if they'd be interested in following Walnut's journey, they can always check us out on our website, which is findyourwalnut.com. They can join the wait list and they'll be updated with newsletters. And if they'd like to reach out to me directly, they can reach out at richa@findyourwalnut.com.
Amazing. I'll make sure to attach all the links you mentioned. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been your host, Calvin Anderson. We've had the impeccable and amazing Richa Raval with us today. Have a good evening. Take care. Speak soon. God bless.